When the news broke out about Nepal's recent protests and the government's social media ban, many headlines across the world rushed to simplify the crisis. So we all saw headlines like Nepal's youth protests over Facebook ban, Gen Z revolts against online restrictions, or social media triggers unrest. But such framing, however convenient, is dangerously incomplete. It reduces a deep-rooted national crisis to a surface-level flashpoint. The reality is far more complex. The protests are not merely about a ban on Facebook or Instagram. They are about a generation that has been grappling with systematic injustice, political instability, corruption, and a sense of hopelessness for years. Yes, you heard that right. Long before the government restricted access to social media platforms. Over the past 10 years, Nepal has seen 14 changes in government leadership. A new face nearly every 9 months is a symptom of deeper issues than just a social media ban. Fractured political alliances, opportunism, and a lack of accountability. No society can build trust, plan for a long-term development, or address crises when governments are constantly in a flux. Even small states struggle when political uncertainty becomes the norm. India's own experience with Uttarakhand in its early years showed how repeated coalition collapses and unstable administrations create governance paralysis, until a decisive majority brought stability. Now, Nepal's case is far more dire. A small mountainous nation with limited resources and a struggling economy has been left vulnerable by leadership that prioritizes personal gain over public welfare. In such an environment, frustration festers, and it is precisely this simmering anger that has found voice among the youth. The anger is not abstract. It is in fact rooted in lived realities. Nepo kids, the children of political elites, have become symbols of inequality. While most families struggle with unemployment, poor infrastructure, and lack of opportunities, these privileged offspring flaunt wealth and comfort on social media. It is not envy alone that fuels resentment, but outrage at blatant injustice. When a young person has to leave the country to find work or a future, while peers from powerful families enjoy luxury, it deepens the sense of betrayal. These children are not merely expressing dissatisfaction, they are protesting a system that has failed them, their families, and their nation. These banners seen in protests, these slogans shouted in the streets are not about losing Instagram access. They scream corruption, inequality, and betrayal by leadership. Also, let us not dismiss the government's point of view. Every sovereign nation has the right to enforce its laws within its territory. Governments across the world, including India, have insisted that digital platforms comply with local regulations. The expectation is not unreasonable. A company that profits from users in a country should also respect that country's laws. The ban on platforms like Facebook and Instagram came after repeated non-compliance by these global giants, except for a few exceptions. From this standpoint, the move was about asserting sovereignty, not silencing dissent. But timing matters. The question that many experts, activists, and even political factions are asking is whether the ban was strategically imposed to suppress a protest that was already brewing. Some point fingers at external influences, accusing neighboring nations or geopolitical players like the US or China of covert sponsorship. Yet others wonder whether the corporations themselves, unwilling to be held accountable, indirectly contributed to the unrest by ignoring regulations. Can we fully rule out corporate interests? The debate remains open. What's clear, however, is that the ban was the spark. It was a trigger point, not the tinder that had been gathering for years. Nepal's experience also exposes another dimension: foreign interference. Powerful nations, whether geopolitical giants or financial entities, often engage with smaller states through aid, trade, or political pressure. Nepali youth have voiced frustration not just against local elites but also against outside forces meddling in internal affairs. Both America and China have been accused of influencing Nepal's political landscape, and opposition parties have exploited these suspicions. Yet it's not only foreign powers that are under scrutiny, global tech platforms are being questioned too. This debate is not trivial. It touches on how developing nations maintain their sovereignty in an increasingly connected, interdependent world. At its heart, this movement is about dignity, opportunity, and the right to a better life. Young people are not merely writing for likes or freedom to post memes. They are crying out because their generation is inheriting a broken system. One where merit is overlooked, corruption is rampant, and leadership remains unaccountable. The sight of young students taking to the streets should not be met with bullets or batons. At the same time, violent destruction of public property like burning the parliament cannot be condoned. But if we only focus on these extremes, we miss the underlying cause, a desperate call for reform. Now, Nepal stands at a crossroads. It can choose to address the root causes, reform governance, ensure transparency, create economic opportunities, and hold power accountable. Or it can resort to short-term crackdowns that deepen alienation. For nations around the world, especially those witnessing their own waves of unrest, Nepal's crisis is a cautionary tale. Social media may amplify grievances, but the grievances themselves are not born online. The real question we must ask is not whether social media caused the protests, but whether we are willing to confront the deeper fault lines that made such protests inevitable.